Oh, my fellow techno surfs. And I don't mean surfers, I mean surfs. Today I'm wading slightly out of my pond and into the realm of nonfiction business books. Don't run away too quickly. This is The Four by Scott Galloway. It's all about, as the subtitle says, the hidden DNA of Amazon, Apple, Facebook, and Google. And I'm not going to hold this book up the whole time, though I'll say, hey, wow, pretty cover, marketing, design, concept, spot on. Look at how you got the F of the Facebook, Google, the Amazon swoop under that, and the little four. That's like 5 out of 5 for a book cover design. But I'm going to put it down because I don't have the muscle strength of a veteran booktuber. So yes, the four. Are they the four horsemen of the apocalypse, or four just wonderful, shiny tech companies that are just here to make life better for us and give us lots of cool stuff and get it to us fast and connect us all together in a happy, happy world? Well, Scott Galloway has maybe the not unsurprising news, if you think about it for even half a second, that no, these are corporations, and corporations are here to make money, make things cheaper, which means usually making things with less human beings, and yeah, to just keep on doing that and to try and make sure that nobody else knocks them off their pedestal. So, you've got Amazon in retail, with their, retail and automation and the coming cloud revolution, or the probably cloud revolution that's already here that I'm too clueless. Apple with their very luxury watches. I'll mention that at the very end. Basically, it's low margin but high profits. Facebook and Google, who suck up every single aspect of ourselves, all our information, and are these massive media companies, not platforms as they try and claim, because yeah, Galloway does call them on that. So these are the great innovators, and it's one of these striking things one of the really good things that this book does. And I am going to hold it back up for a second. Is it's got very handy little infographics. So here's the 5 largest companies. Oof, 5 largest companies. In 2006, that was ExxonMobil, GE, Microsoft, Citigroup, and Bank of America. But in 2017, it's Apple, Alphabet, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, and Facebook. So within that period of time, they've jumped to the top of market capitalization. And because I'm such a business illiterate, market capitalization, that's the value of a company calculated by multiplying the total number of shares by its present share price on the stock market. So it's sort of a rough and ready way of saying this is how much this company is worth. And so that's why these are the 4. With Microsoft in there, Microsoft seems to get disqualified because A, it's not this up-and-comer, and people have always have for the longest time now have viewed it as sort of the evil overlord, while these other companies have been very good at selling themselves as the shiny kind of, oh, we're wonderful. The rules shouldn't apply. We shouldn't have to pay taxes. We shouldn't get regulated. Facebook has started to slip on that, and actually Google through something like YouTube, where it's gotten, like, you're this media company. It's like, oh no, we're a platform, so we don't have to actually regulate what's going on. We don't have to waste our profits on making sure that there's not, horrible content. We're just a platform. Well, that Galloway kind of calls that as bullshit. That's like, it's not that it's impossible, it's that it's not as profitable for these companies to do that. And the other big thing with these 4 is they're all innovators, which, as Galloway mentions, that's business speak for job destroyers. We're trying to figure out how to make things as cheaply as possible, and one of the most expensive things that you have in most processes are human beings. And so just like the Industrial Revolution destroyed bazillions of, all the, farming jobs and everything like that, and mechanization basically, improved our lives wonderfully, but there was this horrible period where it messed up messed up the job market where everything got put out of whack. And the very same thing is happening now with automation. Apparently the reason why you don't see inside like an Amazon warehouse is because there's not that many people inside an Amazon warehouse. I mean, this is a combination of automation and also globalization. You look at something like Apple, where all their factories are in China, or in these zones in China where there's very little regulation, and they treat their workforce like crap. The old industries, they were employing hundreds and thousands of people, skilled people with like, union jobs or well-paying jobs. Not like super, maybe not super wealthy, but these are people who had like, a good middle-class lifestyle. Now they're employing a far smaller number of people who are, making a shit ton of money. But that leaves the rest of us sort of out in the cold. And a lot of the talk through this book is sort of the casual, like, and a lot of businesses, they went out of business because there's no middle class anymore to fund them. That's why you get something like Walmart, which is much hated and actually probably employs a lot more people than Amazon, and actually pays a hell of a lot more taxes than something like Amazon. But they've risen to prominence because they know what their market is. It isn't middle class people. It's us techno serfs at the very bottom. I put myself in there as a techno serf. I don't know if I am or not. So yeah, he really, this is a very good book of pointing out, just exactly how huge and dominant these players are. It's something like they've got a thing here of just like, how Apple acts as a luxury item, where they're scooping up a ton of profits with a fairly small market share. They're a luxury good that they're marketing to rich people, and thus scooping up a lot of profits because their product isn't actually that much worth. Something like market capitalization of, you look at something like Google in comparison to the other media companies, and Google dwarfs them all. It's a very good book that way, of just showing you how dominant and all-consuming these companies are, and how they get away with a lot of stuff. How they've been very good at kind of selling the myth of themselves as, we're the innovators. We've got a visionary leader. They've convinced their the people who own the stocks that we're not going to pay you dividends. We're just going to take all that money and invest it back in the company, and thus crush all our competition, because we can invest in all the infrastructure that basically prevents anyone else from competing with them. And at the same time, it's like, we operate the company so it doesn't make any money, thus we don't have to pay any taxes. And we also have make sure our corporate headquarters are places where, governments can actually get at them to tax them and possibly, use this thing. We're basically subsidizing these tech companies because we've allowed them to have a free ride. We've allowed you could say, oh, the politicians are doing that. It's like, well, it's the politicians are doing what the people do. And, Galloway talks about how Apple wouldn't let the FBI get into in one of their iPhones because it would break the security on it. And he made the point like, well, if something like BlackBerry, a Canadian company, had done the same thing, that, the U.S. would have had trade embargo against Canada pretty soon, because some Canadian company dared to go against the American legal system. However, something like Apple tries that, and there's actually a lot of support for Apple, and so it was a very thought-provoking book that way. It was also pretty, I have to say, a depressing book, in the sense of it doesn't really give much hope for people who aren't going to be future masters of the universe. It's a book, it ends with him giving career advice to, obviously, people like, you're going to go to an Ivy League school, you are going to work as hard as possible, you are going to be freaking brilliant, and then you might be able to actually get into one of these companies and be one of the rich lords, or you'll if you can't work within them, well, you'll start your own company and you'll figure out ways to kind of jam your way into the system, which, you know, spoiler, is not really going to be is not really an option for me. And so I have to say, finishing this book, I was pretty depressed for a while in there. But I have to say, like, you know, this is the thing about reading. This is hopefully about educating myself and taking the message of this book and hopefully encouraging other people to educate themselves about it. Because I think the more you know about stuff like this, hopefully the more you make the decisions, the political decisions, to say to, you know, the people we elect, hey, this is just another corporation. This is another corporation that sucks in a ton of it, like in Google, Amazon, Facebook, all of them. They suck in immense amounts of information about us, and so are able to reflect back media and shape and control the message. And it's like we need to be aware of this and give ourselves better protections for it. I'm not saying we should stop innovation, but that, you know, all this wealth distribution of all going to a very small percentage of the population, that's not a good thing for a society. And maybe I'm talking as a kind of lefto pinko Canadian socialist. NDP actually, well, mostly NDP, I guess. Whatever. But you know, it's how are you going to organize? How are you going to organize society? And do you just want it to let it go full bore this way? I mean, I'm not anti-capitalist. It's like that's the system we work in. It's the worst system that we have that is better than all the rest, it seems so far. But I do believe in, you know, some sort of modifications to that. So that's. If I'm going to take a book like this, which is the business book, and it's about innovators and about, you know, well, let's grab our part of the pie so we keep our family secure. It's like, hey, let's try and figure out a way to keep all society intact. And I mean, to be fair to Galloway, I think he's also advocating for that, though he's also very good. He's a good marketer, and you get the sense that this is a book that is. He's not selling to the poor hitchhikers. He's selling to the business class, the people who are the up and comers who want to, because that's the people who have the money and are probably going to employ him for his talks. Indeed, I'm going to leave a link to one of his talks, because in some ways this book, if you're kind of vaguely interested in this, I would say go listen to one of his talks. This is written like a kind of a good TED talk. It's got some good graphics. He shows the graphics in the talk that I've listened to with I think it's the business innovators group or something like that. But you know, I don't, you know, it was an interesting book, and it was interesting to get into the nitty gritty. But if you just wanted a quick thing of it, you could get it that way. He's got a very kind of bro, I kind of qualified as bro thing. Every once in a while he'll swear, and you think it's like, yeah, I'm getting kind of down with the dudes here. I mean, maybe that's his actual personality. It was just like this odd thing to have in a business book, if he'll just, you know, say, yeah. Every once in a while be like, yeah, well, fuck, Bezos probably was just basically saying, fuck you, that guy, or stuff like that. There is an off thing about Caitlyn Jenner, which really drove me the wrong way. I'm not going to dwell on it, but it was one of these "you'll always be Bruce to me" thing. It's like, well, thanks, dude, but I don't think Caitlyn was asking you, and however much of a dork Caitlyn Jenner can be as a person, you should probably just respect exactly, you know, how she wants to be referred to. That's neither here or there. So yeah, I'll link to that talk. I'll also link to a video by CPG Gray or CP Gray about called "Humans Need Not Apply," which is all about the coming automation revolution as he sees it. If you want to really get depressed about how many employable jobs there's going to be in the future with all the automation that is happening. It's one of these things of, may you live in interesting times, and it's one of these things he's like, oh, you know, I hope I died before things get interesting. Unfortunately, I think with the rapidity of change, I think I need to educate myself, and you owe it to yourself to educate yourself to be aware of your world and what might be coming. So yeah. Oh, a couple of notes. This book will probably really piss you off if you're really into Apple products, because he really is. He really does say that, you know, these are they're making like Toyota cars, but they're selling them at Ferrari prices. That graphic there that I showed sort of shows their net profits and stuff like that. I don't know if that's like you're a bit of a sucker if you get Apple, or it's a bit of a prestige item. I guess that you would say a prestige item. I mean, he also does concede that it's a very user-friendly product and stuff like that. I'm not an Apple person myself, and I enjoy needling my partner about her choice of Apple products. But yeah. So that is content warning. If you're an Apple lover, this book will greatly disturb you. But please don't let that derail what I actually think is an interesting important topic in this omnipresent world. Oh, and one last thing is that he makes the point that, you know, that like the people who are doing all the reviews on Amazon and YouTube and Facebook, everyone who's doing like kind of, you know, reviews and their responses to all these products. And then, you know, we have our links. Well, I don't have any links, but hey, maybe in the future, if I go over 14 viewers, you know, have the, you know, links to where you can buy this book, sort of stuff. It's like, well, what we're actually doing is we're the replacement sales force for these publishers, these corporations. We're the replacement sales force, but we're not actually getting paid. And what are people who do work for corporate lords for no money? That's us techno serfs. At least that's a thought. I don't know. That might be a good subject for a future video of, you know, what is BookTube's overall structural thing in this overall structural place in this capitalist world we live in. You know, it's one of those thoughts. I mean, I would hope that I'm getting my reward by just being able to think about stuff and inform myself, and to just culturally, artistically express and enjoy myself. But and I don't think I'm selling. I don't know if I've actually encouraged you to buy this book, but you know, there's the whole thing of publicity. You know, there's no such thing as bad publicity. I'm talking about the book, so who knows? You might go out and actually spend some money on it, and thus Scott Galloway and Penguin and whoever owns Penguin will win. And you've come to YouTube, where I'm sure there's not any advertising here. You're on YouTube, which is a part of Google, so we're enriching that, and you've clicked on a video about Scott Galloway, so thus we're going to learn something more about you because I've tagged this video as a Scott Galloway thing. And you know, so it's one of these unavoidable things of we're capitalist creatures, whether we like it or not. And you know, I'm gonna go bye for now, all my techno surf fellows. Let us get back to the techno fields and toil for our masters. More videos later.